Chapter 3. He shall rule them with a rod of iron. From Revelations chapter 11. I did basic at Camp Arthur McCurry on the northern prairies, along with a couple of thousand other victims, and I do mean camp, as the only permanent buildings there were to shelter equipment, not people. We slept and ate in tents. We lived outdoors, if you call that living, which I didn't at the time. I was used to a warm climate. It seemed to me that the North Pole was just 5 miles north of camp and getting closer. Ice Age returning, no doubt. But exercise will keep you warm, and they saw to it that we got plenty of that. The first morning we were there, they woke us up before daybreak. I had had trouble adjusting to the change in time zones, and it seemed to me that I had just gotten to sleep. I couldn't believe that anyone seriously intended that I should get up in the middle of the night. But they did mean it. A speaker somewhere was blaring out a military march fit to wake the dead, and a hairy nuisance who had come charging down the company street yelling, "Everybody out! Show a leg on the bounce," came marauding back again, just as I had pulled the covers over my head, tipped over my cot, and dumped me on the cold, hard ground. It was an impersonal attention. He didn't even wait to see if I hit. 10 minutes later, dressed in trousers, undershirt, and shoes, I was lined up with the others in ragged ranks for setting up exercises, just as the sun looked over the eastern horizon. Facing us was a big, broad-shouldered, mean-looking man, dressed just as we were, except while I looked and felt like a poor job of embalming, his chin was shaved blue, his trousers were sharply creased. You could have used his shoes for mirrors, and his manner was alert, wide awake, relaxed, and rested. You got the impression that he never needed to sleep, just 10,000-mile checkups, and dust him off occasionally. He bellowed, "Company, attention! I'm Career Ships Sergeant Zim, your company commander. When you speak to me, you will salute and say, 'Sir.' You will salute and sir anyone who carries an instructor's baton." He carried a swagger cane and now made a quick reverse moulinette with it to show what he meant by an instructor's baton. I had noticed men carrying them when we had arrived the night before and had intended to get one myself. They looked smart. Now I changed my mind. "Because we don't have enough officers around here for you to practice on, you'll practice on us. Who sneezed?" No answer. "Who sneezed?" "I did," a voice answered. "I did what?" "I sneezed." "I sneezed, sir." "I sneezed, sir. I'm cold, sir." "Oh ho!" Zim strode up to the man who had sneezed, shoved the ferrule of the swagger cane an inch under his nose, and demanded, "Name?" "Jenkins, sir." "Jenkins," Zim repeated, as if the word were somehow distasteful, even shameful. "I suppose some night on patrol you're going to sneeze just because you've got a runny nose, eh?" "I hope not, sir." "So do I. But you're cold." "We'll fix that." He pointed with his stick. "See that armory over there?" I looked and could see nothing but prairie except for one building that seemed to be almost on the skyline. "Fall out, run around it." "Run," I said. "Bronsky, pace him." "Right, Sarge." One of the 5 or 6 other baton carriers took out after Jenkins, caught up with him easily, cracked him across the tight of the pants with the baton. Zim turned back to the rest of us, still shivering at attention. He walked up and down, looked us over, and seemed awfully unhappy. At last he stepped out in front of us, shook his head, and said, apparently to himself, but he had a voice that carried, "To think that this had to happen to me." He looked at us. "You apes." "No, not apes. You don't rate that much. You pitiful mob of sickly monkeys. You sunken-chested, slack-bellied, drooling refugees from apron strings. In my whole life, I never saw such a disgraceful huddle of a mama's spoiled little darlings. You there. Suck up the gut. Eyes front. I'm talking to you." I pulled in my belly, even though I was not sure he had addressed me. He went on, and I began to forget my goose flesh in hearing him storm. He never once repeated himself, and he never used either profanity or obscenity. I learned later that he saved those for very special occasions, which this was not. But he described our shortcomings, physical, mental, moral, and genetic, in great and insulting detail. But somehow I was not insulted. I became greatly interested in studying his command of language. I wished that we had had him on our debate team. At last he stopped and seemed about to cry. "I can't stand it," he said bitterly. "I've just got to work some of it off. I had a better set of wooden soldiers when I was 6. All right. Is there any one of you jungle lice who thinks he can whip me? Is there a man in the crowd? Speak up." There was a short silence, to which I contributed. I didn't have any doubt at all that he could whip me. I was convinced. I heard a voice far down the line, the tall end. "I reckon I can, sir." Zim looked happy. "Good! Step out here where I can see you." The recruit did so, and he was impressive. At least 3 inches taller than Sergeant Zim and broader across the shoulders. "What's your name, soldier?" "Breckenridge, sir. And I weigh 210 pounds, and they ain't any of it slack-bellied." "Any particular way you'd like to fight?" "Sir, you just pick your own method of dying, and I'm not fussy." "Okay, no rules. Start when you like." Zim tossed his baton aside. "You don't want to do math, but this is intro to physics. There's math. What's this? Do you recognize it? You've never seen this before in your life. You think you have? All right, put it in your notes. Force, F, is equal to mass, yes, mass times acceleration. That's what those letters mean. Force, mass, acceleration. This formula describes a relationship between those variables. If you multiply something's mass by its acceleration, you will arrive at the force being applied. Does that make sense? Because to get something to accelerate at a certain rate, you must apply a force. How much? Well, it depends on the mass. The higher the mass of the object, the more force will be required to accelerate it to a certain rate. Does that make sense? If an object is accelerating at a certain rate, and you know the force being applied, you can determine its mass. Does that make sense? If you know 2 out of the 3 variables, you can figure out the third. What's that called? Starts with an A. Second letter is an L. Algebra. Thank you. Whew. It's algebra, guys. It's not hard. All right. Thought exercise. Thought exercise here. If I have force and I have mass, what math do I do? Go. Mass. Yeah, force divided by what? And so he says you're going to go. If you do it to one side, you got to do it to the other, right? So why am I doing that? Why am I dividing mass out? To find acceleration, I need to get it by itself. Good. You got to get it by. You have to isolate the variable you're looking for. Got to get it alone. Is it easier to beat somebody up if they're by themselves? Yeah. Maybe. Maybe not. We're going to read about that actually in the book. Got an attachment there for the book. Zim actually kind of doesn't have a problem fighting two people at once. Did we get to that yesterday in the book? No? We're about to. All right, guys. Weight. Weight is the lesson for today. And we talked a little bit about weight with the planet that they were on, right? For that mission they had at the beginning of the book, yes? Does anybody remember what the gravity was as a percentage of Earth's? Yeah, it was 0.87 or 87% of Earth's gravity. Good. So we talked a little bit about it. We did a little bit of math with it. But what is weight? What do we usually measure weight in? Pounds? Okay. What about, you said it, what about in the metric system? What do we measure weight with? We measure weight with mass? Are they the same thing? They're closely related, good, but are they the same thing? No. Somebody said kilogram. How many of y'all think kilogram is the metric unit of weight? A kilo is short for a kilogram. It is not. We use it that way a lot because isn't pretty much everything in our daily lives on Earth? So couldn't we just compare things by mass and we can, like, even though it's not technically, guys, it is not technically weight. It is mass. Let me show you. So we have, this is the force equals mass times acceleration formula. You're going to see it a lot, okay? Weight has a formula too. To find something's weight, let me get rid of this. To find something's weight, you could use this formula. Weight is equal to mass times G. G being what? Gravity. And I want you to just go straight down. Force is a weight. Mass, of course, is a mass. And acceleration, more specifically in our weight formula, is acceleration due to gravity. It's an acceleration. So what we're going to have in units, check this out, write this down, okay? I'll put a little arrow, right? A little arrow again. The units for this weight formula are newtons. Have you ever heard of a newton? I'm not talking about the delicious cookie bar thing. Okay? A newton is a unit of force. Follow? If weight is a force, what is the unit for force? It's newtons. Well, what's a newton? A newton is a kilogram meter per second squared. Because mass is measured in kilograms. And acceleration is measured in meters per second squared. Follow? Okay, let's do an example. If I weigh 96, do you know what I just almost said? I almost said if I weigh 96 kilograms. No! If my mass is 96 kilograms. So we've got a person, 96 kilograms. It's so easy because in common language, kind of they throw it around that way, right? As if it's a weight. It's not. So 96 kilograms. And what was acceleration due to gravity on Earth? Do we remember? Somebody's got to remember it. Or have it in their notes because you take such good detailed notes without me asking. 9.81. 9.81 what? Meters per second squared. Good. That's all you need, isn't it, to find the force? Or in this case, our weight in newtons, because weight is a... What is weight? It's a force. Wake up! So what is my weight in newtons? What is this symbol? It's a dot. It means times. You type it in a calculator, you go 9, 6, well, you got on button first, helps. On 9, 6 times 9 point. The point is like a period. It's a dot too, but it's different than this kind of dot. I know it's complicated. 0.81, and then you hit the little equal button. The equal button's the one, it's like a button, and it has this symbol in it. Good? Look, guys, I don't like being a smart aleck. But if that's what you need, what is it? 941.76. So you would just plug it in. You got 96 kilograms. We have 9.81 meters per second squared. We do the math and we get 941.76. 941.76 what? Newtons. Okay. How about this one? How about, what if we had a 500 Newton? What if we were given this information? 500 newtons is the person's weight. And we know acceleration due to gravity is still 9.81 meters per second squared. Can you find their mass? The answer is yes. Go ahead. Yes. How'd you get that? Holy mackerel. You just jumped through the steps, didn't you? On paper? Did you write in your head? Or how'd you do that? Are you a genius? Calculator. So you cheated. All right, so we know the newtons is 500 newtons. We don't know the kilograms, so we'll leave that there. We do know the meters per second, 9.81 meters per second squared. How did she do it? She plugged the information that we were given into the equation, into the formula. Okay? And then you said you did what? She says she divided 500 by 9.81 meters per second squared. Why did you divide 500 by 9.81? Because we're trying to find mass in kilograms, and to do that we have to get that variable by itself. So we divide out 9.81. Guys, when you think about how it's working, you divide it from this side, kind of in your mind. Think about, I'm dividing it from this side to get it away from the kilograms. But if I do that to this side, great, I'm rid of that. I have to do it to the other side too. If I do something to one side of an equation, don't I have to do the same thing to the other side? Okay? So now I want you to look at this. So 500, I'm going to rewrite it up here so everybody can see it better. 500 helicopter is equal to, actually, we already have that, divided by 9.81 meters per second squared. All right. What's a Newton? Go. Squared. He says it's a kilogram meter per second squared. Watch this, guys. I'm going to erase the N because we could substitute kilogram Meter per second squared. So when you divide, yes, you're going to get the number, which was what? I'm going to round to 50.97. Okay. But you also divide the units. See this meter per second right here? See this meter per second right here? Don't they both go away? What are you left with? kg. Isn't that what we were looking for? Isn't that kind of a nice way to, like, if you forgot what the heck you were doing? Oh yeah, it has to be kilograms. Because that's the only unit left after you divide. That's why it's important when you guys are dividing these things to leave the units attached while you're doing the math. Does that make sense? It will prevent you from being like, oh, the answer is 50.97. What? Bananas? 50.97 what? Or has this ever happened to anyone in the class? They wrote the wrong unit because they forgot what the question was asking for. I got one honest person. Oh, got two? Okay. So, weight. Do we understand weight? Yes. I got one person that says they understand. A couple of you? Okay. So let's say we've got this 50.97 kilogram person. And they were somehow instantaneously transported to Mars. What is their mass now? They'd be floating in space. No, I'm saying they'd be on Mars, standing on Mars. What would their mass be? Paul. With or without oxygen. Assuming that all else is equal, they are just no longer on Earth. They are now on Mars, standing on Mars instead of standing on Earth, all else equal. Their mass was 50.97 kilograms on Earth. What would it be then on Mars? Turner. You got to multiply it by Mars' gravity, so we don't have enough information? Guys. If you multiply it by Mars' gravity, acceleration due to gravity, wouldn't you be getting newtons? Did I ask you what their weight in newtons would be on Mars? What would their mass be on Mars? Huh? What? 500 kilograms? Well, their weight on Earth was 500 newtons, but I'm asking you what their mass... Guys, their mass on Earth is 50.97 kilograms. We did the math. Do we all agree? Yes? But what is it on Mars? Is it 50.97 on Mars? Wouldn't it be the same no matter where they are? Even if they were floating dead in space? Right? What? I asked for their mass. I said, what's their mass on... I said, here's their mass. What's their mass on Mars? It's the same. It doesn't matter where they are. But yes, if I was asking for their weight, you'd rightly say, well, what is the acceleration due to gravity on Mars? Right? If you don't know this, or you didn't know this, put it in your notes. Kilograms are a measure of what? Mass. Matter. How much matter is in the thing? In the person, in this case. How much matter do they have? Huh? That much. In kilograms, that much mass. That much matter. Matter has mass. You get enough mass, you can start to measure what? Last thing before we get back to the reading. Things that have enough mass start to really have something called gravitational force, right? All right, now, can somebody tell me, yes, of course you can. Can somebody tell me, I think I counted 3. There's 3 things that determine gravitational force. 3 things that determine gravitational force. Can somebody tell me one of those 3 things? Go. The mass of what? The object? Just the object. Guys, a gravitational force is an attraction between objects. So if we stick with 2, you'd have the mass of one object and the mass of the other. And did you look it up? Did you look it up? Okay, what's the third? You just looked at your screen. You're telling me you didn't look it up? If I look at your screen right now, would it not be on there? Oh, it is, okay. She's laughing because she knows she's lying. Hey, at least you looked it up. Guys, she's not a slug. She didn't know, so she looked it up. That's a good thing. Yeah, be a proud slug. Wait, no, she's not a slug. You are? You're not looking it up because you knew it already. Now that's sarcasm. I can recognize sarcasm. So are you okay? Really? Didn't we do this exercise the other day where I said it was like, no, that was 4th period, wasn't it? I said, that's pathetic. They were totally fine not knowing things. Was it you? Okay. You haven't learned your lesson. Shh. All right, guys. Elander, say it again. What's the 3rd thing? She forgot. How'd you forget? You just said it. The mass of the objects and the distance between them. Guys, shh. If you move the objects of whatever mass further away from each other, the gravitational force, attractive force between them is reduced. It's less. If you bring them closer together, that force is greater. Later, we will do that formula too, Newton's gravitational constant and all that. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? Are they good notes? Fantastic. All right, once you've finished that up, you can probably put that away. We're going to grab the book. We're going to read a little bit. So you just pick your own method of dying. I'm not fussy. Okay, no rules. Start when you like. Zim tossed his baton aside. It started, and it was over. The big recruit was sitting on the ground, holding his left wrist in his right hand. He didn't say anything. Zim bent over him. Broken? Reckon it might be, sir. I'm sorry. You hurried me a little. Do you know where the dispensary is? Never mind. Jones! Breckenridge! Take him over to the dispensary. As they left, Zim slapped him on the right shoulder and said quietly, let's try it again in a month or so. I'll show you what happened. I think it was meant to be a private remark, but they were standing about 6 feet in front of where I was slowly freezing solid. So this guy charged him, I guess, too fast for Zim to avoid breaking his wrist. So he apologized to Breckenridge for breaking his wrist, but then said quietly, like for him, hey, once you're healed up, we'll go over it. I'll teach you what happened. Zim stepped back and called out, okay, we've got one man in this company at least. I feel better. Do we have another one? Do we have 2 more? Any 2 of you scrofulous toads think you can stand up to me? He looked back and forth along our ranks. Chicken-livered, spineless. Oh, yes. Step out. 2 men who had been side by side in rank stepped out together. I suppose they had arranged it in whispers right there. But they were also far down the tall end, so I didn't hear it. Zim smiled at them. Names for your next of kin, please. He's talking smack, right? Like, if I kill you, I need to know who you are so I can notify your next of kin. Heinrich. Heinrich what? Heinrich, sir. Bitte. And bitte means like, if you please. or it's a common word in German I'm not super familiar with. Please? It depends on the context, though, too, right? Sorry? Okay. Okay, sure. Oh, okay, yeah, because he was supposed to say sir, right? So he spoke rapidly to the other recruit and added politely, he doesn't speak much standard English yet, sir. Meyer, mein Herr, the second man supplied. That's okay, lots of them don't speak much of it when they get here. I didn't myself. Tell Meyer not to worry, he'll pick it up. But he understands what we're going to do? Like, does he understand we're about to fight? Jawohl, agreed Meyer. Certainly, sir. He understands standard, he just can't speak it fluently. All right, where'd you guys pick up those face scars? Heidelberg? Nein, no, sir. Königsberg. Same thing. Zim had picked up his baton after fighting Breckenridge. He twirled it and asked, perhaps you would each like to borrow one of these? It would not be fair to you, sir, Heinrich answered carefully. Bare hands, if you please. Suit yourself, though I might fool you. Königsberg, eh? Rules? How can there be rules, sir, with 3? An interesting point. Well, let's agree that if eyes are gouged out, they must be handed back when it's over. I love this. And tell your corpse brooder that I'm ready now. Start when you like. Zim tossed his baton away. Someone caught it. You joke, sir. We will not gouge eyes. No eye gouging. Agreed. Fire when ready, Gridley. Please. Come on and fight or get back in the ranks. So he's taking on 2 men at once now. Now, I'm not sure that I saw it happen this way. I may have learned part of it later in training, but here is what I think happened. The 2 moved out on each side of our company commander until he had him completely flanked, but well out of contact. So they're on either side of him. They haven't gotten close enough to be in contact, touching. From this position, there is a choice of 4 basic moves for the man working alone. So Zim. Moves that take advantage of his own mobility and the superior coordination of 1 man as compared with 2. Sergeant Zim says correctly that any group is weaker than a man alone unless they're perfectly trained to work together. For example, Zim could have feinted at one of them, bounced fast to the other with a disabler such as a broken kneecap, then finished off the first at his leisure. Instead, he let them attack. Meyer came at him fast, intending to body check him and knock him to the ground, I think, while Heinrich would follow through from above, maybe with his boots. That's the way it appeared to start. And here's what I think I saw. Meyer never reached him with that body check. Sergeant Zim whirled to face him while kicking out and getting Heinrich in the belly. And then Meyer was sailing through the air. His lunge helped along with a hearty assist from Zim. But all I am sure of is that the fight started, and then there were 2 German boys sleeping peacefully, almost end to end, one face down and one face up. And Zim was standing over them, not even breathing hard. Jones, he said. No, Jones left, didn't he? Mahmoud, let's have the water bucket, then stick them back into their sockets. Who's got my toothpick? What's his toothpick? The baton. So he finished up. A few moments later, the 2 were conscious, wet, and back in ranks. Zim looked at us and inquired gently, anybody else? Or shall we get on with setting up exercises? I didn't expect anyone else, and I doubt if he did. But from down on the left flank, where the shorties hung out, a boy stepped out of ranks, came front and center. Zim looked down at him. Just you? Or do you want to pick a partner? Just myself, sir. As you say. Name? Shijumi, sir. Zim's eyes widened. Any relation to Colonel Shijumi? I have the honor to be his son, sir. Ah, so. Well, black belt? No, sir, not yet. I'm glad you qualified that. Well, Shijumi, are we going to use contest rules or shall I send for the ambulance? As you wish, sir, but I think, if I may be permitted an opinion, that contest rules would be more prudent. I don't know just how you mean that, but I agree. Zim tossed his badge of authority aside. Then, so help me, they backed off, faced each other, and bowed. After that, they circled around each other in a half crouch, making tentative passes with their hands and looking like a couple of roosters. Suddenly they touched, and the little chap was down on the ground, and Sergeant Zim was flying through the air over his head. But he didn't land with the dull, breath-paralyzing thud that Meyer had. He lit rolling and was on his feet. Lit or hit? I wonder if that's a typo. So basically, have you seen this like in the movies? So Zim must have charged at him, and Shijumi used his weight and kicked him off, so he's flying over his head. And he hit the ground and rolled, right? And was on his feet as fast as Shijumi was and facing him. Banzai! Zim yelled and grinned. Arigato! Shijumi answered and grinned back. They touched again, almost without a pause, and I thought the sergeant was going to go flying again. He didn't. He slithered straight in. There was a confusion of arms and legs, and when the motion slowed down, you could see that Zim was tucking Shijumi's left foot in his right ear. A poor fit. Shijumi slapped the ground with a free hand. Zim let him up at once. They again bowed to each other. So Shijumi, he tapped out. His left foot being like put in his right ear. Bad fit. That's funny. I love the way this guy writes. He's got a good sense of humor. Another fall, sir? Sorry, we've got work to do. Some other time, eh? For fun and honor. Perhaps I should have told you, your honorable father trained me. So I had already surmised, sir. Another time it is. Zim slapped him hard on the shoulder. Back in ranks, soldier. Company! Then for 20 minutes we went through calisthenics that left me as dripping hot as I had been shivering cold. Zim led it himself, doing it all with us and shouting the count. He hadn't been mussed that I could see. He wasn't breathing hard as we finished, so it didn't faze him at all. The workout was very easy for him. He never led the exercises after that morning. We never saw him again before breakfast. Rank hath its privileges. But he did that morning, and when it was over and we were all bushed, he led us at a trot to the mess tent, shouting at us the whole way to step it up, on the bounce, you're dragging your tails. We always trotted everywhere at Camp Arthur Curry. I never did find out who Curry was, but he must have been a track man, a runner, right? Breckenridge was already in the mess tent, with a cast on his wrist, but thumb and fingers showing. I heard him say, "Nah, just a green stick fracture. I've played a whole quarter with worse. But you wait, I'll fix him." What's he like already wanting to do? He's already wanting to fight Zim again, right? This Breckenridge got his wrist broken last time. I had my doubts. Shijumi, maybe, but not that big ape. He simply didn't know when he was outclassed. I disliked Zim from the first moment I laid eyes on him, but he had style. That's a good spot to stop. 51 had style.